Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Autistic Assemble. And today's episode, we're joined with Adelaide, and it's going to be really cool because this is Adelaide's first podcast, so it's going to be a really cool experience for Adelaide. And today we're going to be speaking about ADHD and autism. So we're going to be speaking about the two and just Adelaide's journey, really. So Adelaide, it's great to have you on the podcast today.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Yeah, it's gonna be good fun. I know we were a little bit nervous before, but it's gonna be it's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be really fun. Is there like before we go and talk about anything, would you mind just doing a little introduction of yourself?
Of course. So, hello. I'm Adelaide, a content creator from Manchester, and I make content that makes people feel good, do things to make people feel like better about themselves, and help people do things such as like body doubling, so to help people like go shopping or brush their teeth or go to appointments by themselves, and like leave little notes around towns where I live and stuff with just like positive like sayings on them, like I'm happy you're here, or like you're amazing, your smile is great and stuff like that, which is really cool. Really enjoy doing that. And then on my like Instagram and stuff, I like to make posts about ADHD and autism and the journey, I suppose, that I'm going on through like unmasking and learning more about myself since I was like late late diagnosed, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's good fun because like we spoke about that before, like the good people. You may
Mhm.
not maybe not in person, but like eventually get to that stage. But like amount of people you can talk to on there that they can relate with
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, it's nice, and it's nice to feel like seen as well. Like growing up as an undiagnosed like neurodiverse person, you just always feel like an outsider, and like it's as though like everyone's been given this like book of how to do life, and you just haven't been given it, and you don't understand what's going on. And then when you realize why, and then you meet other people who are the same as you, it just everything just feels like right, and things just kind of fall into place, and it's nice, and you don't feel like as much of an outsider anymore. You kind of like create your own little community of like people who are just like you, and it's like accepting and like a loving environment, which is, it's something that like I feel like a lot of people need, especially when you grow up with like autism or ADHD, whether you know about it or not. It's hard. Like it does make like little bits of life a little bit harder. So it's nice when you meet people who are like the same.
Yeah, it really is, like, because I guess depending when you get diagnosed or
Mm-hmm.
if you whenever you hear of it, I guess, about what they are, it just depends like how you're feeling about it because it's not maybe the best thing in the world at the start,
No.
because you may not know exactly what it is, and like there's
Yeah.
lots of stigmas around
Mm-hmm.
everything. I think anything that you get
Yeah.
diagnosed with now. But the more we understand about it, the more like you say, the more you understand yourself. It's all about understanding yourself, really, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like a journey, and it kind of is like you have to like relearn everything, because like everything you've learned and everything you've done as like a masked neurotypical person. And so then when you start to like unmask and realize like there's so much stuff that you like could do before, and I say like could in like quotation marks, for pushed yourself when you shouldn't have, and you didn't realize how much things were affecting you and struggling. So then when you start to unmask and you realize there's all these things that you're struggling with, it can feel really overwhelming, and it feels like, well, why wasn't I struggling with this before? And but like you just didn't understand like how you were struggling with it, or like what it was that you were struggling with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it,
Yeah.
it makes completely good sense. Um, yeah, I especially like growing up, um,
Mm-hmm.
I saw like maybe for ADHD, a lot of people would just think like I think the stigma around it is that you are maybe you hyper or you or
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. That's the misconceptions about it, and
Yeah.
you just get told off by teachers that aren't your fault, and might just get distracted or may get looked at for maybe disrupting the class or something
Yeah,
like that, which is not the case. Um,
yeah,
but they are the main misconceptions that I'm aware
yeah.
of.
Like with ADHD, it's very like, so my brother was diagnosed with ADHD when he was really young, and I'm 4 years older than him, and I obviously I got missed, but the traits are just, they're very different, like in how they present in everybody, not just in how they present in like males, females, and things like that. It's just not every single person with ADHD or autism is the same. Like everyone has like different traits and things. So my brother was like really misbehaved. He was like naughty, and was just considered like a naughty boy. Um, and so when he was diagnosed with ADHD, and obviously like 20 plus years ago, there was not really any sort of information. It was just like, oh, well, Adelaide's not like that, so she mustn't have any of that. Because I wasn't like my brother, I was very like more like hyperactive, like internally, and like my brain and my thoughts were constantly going. I was always fidgeting, talking really fast, couldn't keep still, but it wasn't the same as like running around and causing havoc and being disobedient. It was very, very different. And I think that's why I got missed. And then with my autism, I am a very, very literal person. And I struggle in social situations. But then with my ADHD, it was very much like I struggled in social situations, but for the opposite reason. So they kind of like counteract each other. So it's really like difficult to kind of figure out which one it is that is like at the forefront, I suppose, like
Yeah,
during the day, if that makes sense. Like they both always are, but sometimes like your ADHD is a little bit more prominent, or your autism traits might be a little bit more prominent, and it's like a battle
yeah,
constantly for which one is the main star of the show for
yeah.
that period of time.
Yeah, I can see that. Like it just like overlapping one another.
Yeah, because they're like very opposite. Like with ADHD, you can't really follow schedules and stuff because you're like constantly chasing the dopamine, and then you get bored of the schedule. But then with autism, like you need structure and schedule and routine. So I don't have like a set routine per se, like something like I have to do all the time, but I have an order of what I need to do things in. That is my routine, but it doesn't have like a set time limit or anything like that. Like I can't leave my bedroom without making my bed.
Yeah,
So that's the routine aspect. It doesn't have a time that I have to do that by. It's just before I leave the bedroom.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Like
Mhm.
like I think my routine went before. I think that went before when COVID hit. It all just went, didn't it?
Yeah.
Um, even if you do have a routine, so it's gone. And it's
Yeah.
very much hard to get it back into place. When
Yeah.
when it's like ruined. Because you're used to doing the daily thing.
Hmm.
But within school, actually, I would be very distracted. Like
Yeah.
if people were talking to me, I would talk to them. I don't want to be rude. And then teacher says, "Yeah, I need to concentrate." And then they'll move the people that are talking
Yeah.
to each other, and I don't. I may help, but it's not going to really help because you're going to be upset about it.
Yeah.
But but yeah, it was I I was I was one of those people that liked jokes or I would just like
Hmm.
to have a laugh at school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to reading, I'm in cuckoo land. um, so you read in a book and I'm not following. I'm thinking what I'm doing after school.
Hmm.
If I'm gonna meet people, if I'm gonna go maybe on the PlayStation, I'm thinking what I'm doing after. I'm not
Yeah.
because I'm not interested in, especially because talk's so slow. You know,
Yeah.
like it doesn't focus me enough.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like it's slow, really really slow, and when they come to me and they say, Mason, can you read this next page? I haven't even moved the page. I'm probably on the first page that we
I
started
was
at.
the same. I'm like, I don't even know where we're up to. I haven't been following along.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not a massive book person.
Mm.
I don't mind them if
Hmm.
I can read. I'm good at spelling. I loved English at school.
Yeah,
I like, you know, when they would do those lessons and they would say talk about something that you are interested in and make a story out of it. I love them kind of lessons. Um,
yeah,
because I just talk about the same thing that, like, one of my maybe interests or special interests that I like to do. That's in
yeah.
there. I just make something up. That's easy.
Mhm.
Um, and then, but the thing for me is that I wouldn't look back. I wouldn't check my spellings or anything like that. I would just write and write and write, because they're more focused how much you've written, really, aren't they, in school?
Yeah,
If they see loads of work on the page, they'll leave you alone.
yeah. They're like, it's fine, you did well.
Yeah,
Don't need to read it. I trust you.
yeah. But there were certain teachers who would actually not pick on people to read,
Yeah,
which I like them kind of
mhm,
teachers. Um,
yeah,
if they just read the whole lesson or something like that, they read the
yeah,
book. I think that's so much easier than picking on
mhm,
students. Um, because I felt they would pick on the students, maybe not just with reading, anything. If
yeah,
say you're good, you're a good student in school, or you like
mhm,
to think that you are a good student in school. And they would normally, well, especially when I went, that they would pick on the, if you lost concentration for a minute, when you rarely lose it, or you're just
mhm.
doing something like that, they would pick on you, rather than maybe people that are the normal suspects that just do
Yeah,
it.
I feel like a lot of teachers in school when I was at school, like I think like they didn't encourage bullying, but like they would like single out kids that genuinely didn't want to do stuff. Like for example, for the reading out loud, like if you pronounced a word wrong or something, and then like the teacher would laugh at you, and it was like you're just making it worse, and you're making the kids think that it's okay to like laugh.
Yeah,
And they would call out on the students that didn't really participate a lot, but it's like the reason we don't participate is because we don't want to, we don't feel comfortable doing that, and we shouldn't have to participate if we don't want to, as long as we're like still like doing the lessons or doing the work. And not everybody learns the same way, not even just people with like disabilities and things, but like everybody in general has like a different way of learning. And the way that school works is you have to learn this way and this way only, and if you don't, then tough. If you don't have a good memory, you will not pass your exams essentially, and then you just get called dumb or penalized because you don't have a good memory, because that's all exams are, is who's got the best memory and can remember how to do all this stuff. um and that's just not, I don't feel like that's a fair way to do things. But yeah, I feel like school was hard on like disabled kids, and I don't feel like enough awareness was around back in the day. I said back in the day, it was a long time ago that I was in school, like
hmm,
15 years ago I left school, so it's been a long time.
yeah,
So things might be different now. But yeah, it was teachers wouldn't help. And like I remember I was in geography and we'd done an exam, and I wrote England for the answer instead of England. Like I forgot the N,
oh, yeah,
but I was just like doodling on the back of my exam because I'd finished it. And
hmm,
obviously I'd like rushed through it and not really gone back and checked my answers. And then the teacher was like, made me get up in front of the class and like took the mick that I wrote England instead of England. And it was like, why would you not just do this in private? Why would you not just come to me and be like, you wrote England? Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I think the problem is, with school, is that, well, some schools are okay. I think it just depends the one you're at, really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like because I went from, say, a mainstream school to a special school, so
Mm-hmm.
I know the difference. And
Yeah.
it's very hard to get into a special school. But at mainstream school, so what it would be what it would be is like, the teacher expects every single student in the class to know what you're talking about, and
Yeah.
if you don't, well, you get detention or something like
Yeah.
that, which
Yeah.
I thought was ridiculous. And there were certain situations that prove that they don't understand autism.
Yeah.
Certain situations were that they had an isolation room actually in the mainstream school I
Mhm.
went to. So
Yeah.
you go into this isolation room if you get maybe 3 detentions, or you have this slip or something like that, and
Mhm.
you're going there if you've been bad. And there were certain situations where they wouldn't do things correctly,
Yeah.
like being impatient
Mhm.
with you, telling that I always say this the same thing. I say it to loads of people. People who listen to the podcast probably get bored of me saying it, but it just proves how they don't understand um, autism at the time. I don't know what to do now, but I no clue. It was about maybe 6 or so years ago now, maybe more. But what happened is after lunch, it's like this class. It was English, but a class
Mhm.
with people with maybe needs like autism,
Mhm.
ADHD and stuff like that. And I remember we got told wait outside the library after lunch, and half the class went, and then assistant teacher did as well. The helper teacher went as well.
Mhm.
And we can't get in the library because the teacher has the key, and we're waiting about 15 minutes, and I think, what's going on? Like, I should be here by now. Like,
Yeah.
and I thought it was a bit weird. And then at this point, with my autism, I wasn't very confident. So I wasn't really confident to ask for help, and I wasn't confident to do anything really.
Yeah.
Um, so we go back, and the teacher says, "Where have you all been? Like, we've been waiting for you." And I said, "Well, you told us to go out the library after lunch. That's where we were for 15 minutes. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering the same thing." And then so no, I didn't. I said, I never said that at all." And then I think all of us questioned ourselves. So the heart two, maybe 2 or 3 students in the class sitting there, I don't know why they were in there, but there was
Yeah.
obviously a confusion. But the thing is, rather than really, you wouldn't think this is a big situation, would you? What happened?
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it's worthy of punishment or anything like that.
Well, no,
Um,
and especially if like you're not the only person that went there.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like all of you didn't just miss
Yeah.
here, you know?
Yeah, yeah, but what happened is the teacher says you'll have a detention. That's what she didn't even want to talk about it. And then so
Yeah.
the situation the following day, um, head of year known as the head teacher of the year,
Mhm.
because of course the mainstream school is quite big, isn't it? So you have one main head teacher. So head of
Mhm.
year comes to see us in the form room following day, and says like wasn't very nice really. Was saying why were you late? Why were you late to class? And I said, well, I, I said I wasn't going to speak at all. I was waiting a few seconds for people to say anything, but they were all super
Mhm.
quiet. So I kind of did it anyway. And I say, well, I did what I thought was right. I got told to go to the library. We all got told to go to the library, and we're waiting outside the library. And then they end up saying, I will let you off this time. Um, and I,
Yeah.
and then I was like, okay, cool. But me now, I would be more maybe argumentative to get
Yeah.
to, to win the argument and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was impossible back then to do anything like that because they just didn't really understand. And they say they do.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. They say that
they
they
really
do, but they don't. And like they'll just like follow the stigma.
yeah. When I did actually transition to go to special school, it was much
Mhm.
better. Like
Yeah.
you was actually treated maybe like 1-to-1 more so than
Yeah.
like
That's
a
nice.
class. That's what I liked about it.
Yeah.
But
I think because I was like undiagnosed, like literally until like last year when I got my ADHD diagnosis, I just kind of like struggled through and didn't really understand why I was struggling because I was like my like parents' evenings and stuff like that and were always like the exact same thing, like, oh, she's so bright, but she's so easily distracted, or oh, she's so bright, she has the potential to do more if she just tried harder. And I'd be sat there like on the verge of tears, like I'm literally trying my hardest. I don't know what's wrong with me. And I feel like this was when I got my diagnosis of ADHD. At first, it didn't really sink in. It was kind of just like, oh yeah, I've got ADHD. And it wasn't until I really started thinking about my life that I kind of started to like go through like a grieving period, however you pronounce that, of like the life I could have had and the help I could have had, and like the experiences I've had that have been like traumatic for me and things like that. Like, would they have happened? Would I have been so like horrendously bullied throughout school and stuff, and in my like even bullied in like jobs I've had, and not understanding like why people just didn't like me, and like trying really hard to fit in. And if I would have been diagnosed as a child, like would all that have not happened? And I don't think like a lot of people talk about that period of when you get your diagnosis, or when you kind of figure yourself out and realize that you are like autistic, or you do have ADHD or some other like neurological disorder, and you do grieve for your life because you've struggled more than you should have. And I don't think like I haven't really seen that many people talk about that period. And it's like hard because then it's like you feel bad for feeling bad. Like the amount of times that I've sat there and just cried and felt like rubbish because I've been crying over the life that I had, when it isn't anyone's fault. And it's not like I can, say for sure if things would have been different if I'd have been diagnosed. I've no idea. But it kind of just is it's a weird feeling to have, and to not really have anyone to talk about it with, which is why like I'm currently making like because I've done an ebook on eating disorders and stuff, and I'm currently writing one about like the early stages of like getting an autism ADHD diagnosis and the feelings of grief and stuff like that, so then other people can like maybe not feel like I felt, where they felt really bad about feeling that way, and feel a little bit more kind of accept, like they know that this is a feeling that other people in a similar situation have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Because when I got my autism diagnosis, I was 9, and I felt
Yeah.
awful. I felt awful about it, and I thought it was the worst thing in the world that I did, and
Mm-hmm.
I got bullied at school as well. I got bullied most of my
Yeah.
primary school life, and a little bit in mainstream. Um, like it's not a
Mm-hmm.
nice feeling, and especially if you tell the teachers and don't believe you, do they? So it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard, but I think that's a really good idea to do
Yeah.
that, because, like you say, maybe other people feel like they don't have to be annoyed about it or feel bad because they have it, because other people have it
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Because
Yeah.
so many people when they get diagnosed feel don't know what to feel, do they? Like
Yeah. It's a weird feeling because it's like, are you relieved? Are you happy? Are you sad? It's you kind of feel everything, but then also not really understanding how you're feeling. And it's just it's hard, and it's really hard to navigate by yourself, especially when if you don't have anyone to talk to about it, which
yeah.
I'm kind of glad that I've so publicly discovered myself, because I started my TikTok when I started recovery from anorexia. And
Mm.
then the people who followed me have literally followed me on a journey of recovering from an eating disorder to figuring out that I have autism and ADHD. And it's been like a whole journey and a whole thing. And being so like publicly open about it, it's been really nice, because I get messages like every single day from people like, thank you so much for this post, and they'll send either videos that I've done or like Instagram posts I've shared, and just be like, this literally made me feel so good about myself, or this made me feel seen. And it just feels so good to think like that's what I needed.
Yeah.
And it feels really good to be able to be that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I know what I'm trying to say. My brain's just like, no words, no.
I'm like that sometimes. Like you can't get your words out, and
Yeah.
stuff. And like when I've done that before, actually, like people just think it's nerves, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's more just you can't say that certain word. It's annoying sometimes, but
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I completely agree. And actually, with like having autism and ADHD, a lot of people now have autism or within something else. I feel
Yeah.
like it comes up a lot. Like I have autism and Crohn's, but Crohn's is completely different to autism. But it's almost like it
Yeah.
comes in twos. Like you can have
Yeah.
autism and dyslexia, or autism and something else, and it's almost like it's connected in some way
Yeah.
within the science or something.
Mhm.
But it's really interesting because it makes it a even more better community because
Yeah.
um you're experiencing other things and um it a lot of people I know have their autism diagnosis first, and then they have their whatever it is they may have
Yeah.
second. But I only know it's really rare because Crohn's is a disease, so it's a lot different. But so much got similarities within people who say they don't look like they have it, like with autism. People say they don't look like you have autism, and I know about 3 or 4 people that have autism and Crohn's, and every one of them got diagnosed with autism first, and then Crohn's a bit later on.
Yeah. I think
So
Crohn's next.
yeah, it's pretty interesting that it's like a huge coincidence.
Yeah.
That
Like when
happened.
I got my ADHD diagnosis, so I was on the wait list for a long time. I was on the wait list for an autism and ADHD diagnosis for 3 years. After 2 years was when I got my ADHD diagnosis, and the guy diagnosing me literally thought I had, like, he thought I was already diagnosed with autism. I had a support worker, she also thought I was autistic. I've had therapists who have just been like, oh, are you not autistic? I thought you was. And I'm like, am I? I don't know. And it was kind of like that, and then a mix of doing a boatload of research into all the different things that I was experiencing and feeling, and then watching videos of other people. And I went to the doctors with like a folder. I was like, help me, please. But then with the autism diagnosis, it's been really difficult because I was on the wait list for what would have been 3 years. And when I rang up to see how far along the process I was, they were like, we've had no referral for you. And I was like, I've been on the wait list for 3 years. What do you mean? And the doctor like hadn't actually like sent it to for the autism assessment as well as ADHD. They'd just done ADHD. And I was like, I've been waiting for 3 years for you to now tell me that I have to wait another 3 years. Like, no, thank you. Like, and then I did it. I asked them if they would put me through Psychiatry UK and the right to choose. And when I tell you, like, I had to fight for them to do that because they were like, no, we don't pay for that. I'm like, no, you don't pay for it. Yeah, we have to pay for it. I was like, no, you don't. And I went in with like printed off like the website and everything. And I was like, this is what you have to do, this. And they finally did it. And I got a call like 2 weeks ago for my assessment date, but I missed the call because it was like an unknown number. So I just didn't answer it.
Yeah.
Expecting people to like, if it's important, you'll leave a message. And I didn't get a message. And then I got an email the next day like, we was going to give you an appointment, but it's gone now because you didn't answer your phone. So we'll call you back another time. And it's been 2 weeks and nothing. And I'm like, you rang me on an unknown number and didn't give me any time to, like, you didn't call me back. You didn't like email me straight away, like nothing. And I feel like that was a bit like they could have like rang me back. Like,
Yeah. They could have,
so
yeah.
I'm still like waiting at the minute for them to call me back, and then hopefully that will all like go through. But yeah, it's been 2 weeks since they called, but like 3.5 years on a wait list.
Yeah. It's really
So
hard. It is really hard
yeah.
to get a diagnosis. Um,
Mm-hmm.
of anything, I think, but autism especially because of like like you say with the process, and
Yeah.
I always think like there should be a different process between genders, like female and male. I always think that because like it's a little bit harder, isn't it, for like
Yeah.
females than males
Yeah.
to get that
Like,
diagnosis.
yeah, because if you like, the diagnosis process is very like sexist, and it's also like really outdated. So like they still like they treat you like you're a child. Um, and I know like a few people who've been through the diagnosis process, and they're like, oh, they make you build this train and tell them to make up a story about this frog, and it's like, I'm an adult. Like, there's a weird way to kind of like go about that, and to give the
Yeah.
same sort of diagnosis process to someone who is, say, like 29 to someone who is 7, it's like, of course they're going to be different. Of course we're going to have different answers. I'm not anything like any 7-year-old, let alone a 7-year-old with autism. Like, it doesn't matter whether they're autistic or not. I'm not the same as a 7-year-old boy. That's not.
No.
It's different. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a pain, but it'll be worth it in the end. Which is why it's one of the reasons like I advocate so much for like self-diagnosis, because I think a lot of people have a misconception about people who self-diagnose, and they think that they've just watched a couple of videos on TikTok and then woke up one day and was like, I'm autistic. Okay, I'm just going to tell everyone I'm autistic. And it's just not the case. Like, when you self-diagnose, like you do extensive research, you really, really look into yourself and everything, and it's not an overnight thing. Like, I didn't self-diagnose and for like 2 years because I was scared to, because I felt like I needed like a formal diagnosis. But even GPs now will accept a self-diagnosis because of how difficult it is to be diagnosed. And a lot of women and like non-binary people are often misdiagnosed with like borderline personality disorder or bipolar or schizophrenia, and it's end up like being put on medication they don't need because of the way the diagnosis system works. And it's not something that's like can just be changed overnight.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think like self-diagnosis is like super, super valid. And percent of people who self-diagnose, if they seek a formal diagnosis, will be diagnosed.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. I completely up there with self-diagnosis. Because it's very important, because it is very hard, extremely hard to get diagnosed. Like it was 20 years ago, so still is now.
Yeah.
I remember going to Great Ormond Street Hospital in London for my diagnosis, but I don't remember anything that happened because I was so young. I was 9, and I can't remember a thing. But I know that I had tests, and like I know things that were spotted for me to have
Yeah.
autism. So I'm quite sensory, so I would, the lovely 2000s car map that they had like when you were a kid, and you had that. I always remember that car map, like, and then I would always put the colours in order with the cars and the
Yeah.
vehicles. I'd do that, and then you'd have these magnetics things where I'll do the same. I'd put the certain colours in the same order.
Yeah.
So it has to be, they have to be that way. It has to be like that. So yeah, and then I did actually, I took sarcasm quite seriously when I was
Yeah.
younger. Like I understand a little bit more now about it, but I would get it's hard. It's hard to notice, isn't it? Sarcasm.
Yeah. Especially when people are like really good at it, because it's like, it being serious, it's real, it being real, and they're like, no, obviously not. And it's like, yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and like quotes and sayings and stuff are, oh my god, I hated them. Like, there was one in particular, and I made a video about it because I just thought it was so funny. But it was the walk a mile in my shoes. Like, is it called? It's not an idiom, is it? Is that what it is?
Maybe.
Yeah, but like walk a mile in my shoes. So I remember the first time I heard that was in an Eminem song, and I remember just being like, well, what if we've got different size feet? Why am I walking a mile? Where are we going? Like, why am I wearing his shoes to walk a mile in? Why can't I wear my own shoes? Like, what if they're not comfortable? Like, what if they're not the type of shoes that I want to wear? And then people will be like, no, that's not what it means. And I'm like, well, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why can't I just wear my own shoes? Like, why do I need to wear his shoes? And it was like, oh, just to like picture his life. And then it was like, I don't know how to picture somebody else's life. I just picture me, but like in the house. Like, I picture like their life as just me living like in the house and having their job, but it would still be like me. I cannot physically picture somebody else's life or like how somebody else navigates anything.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I don't understand, these things don't make any sense to me. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And that should have been like a red flag for everybody, because it was everything. I like took everything like so literally.
Yeah, I could agree, and I remember getting upset. I'll cry about certain things.
Yeah,
And I would just I was, like I'm one of those people that don't like to cry in front of people
yeah,
as well. So I find it hard to let my emotions go sometimes. Um,
hmm
but yeah, I completely agree. Like the diagnosis does need to be improved. Like a lot of things need to be improved still. Like the education, like with
hmm
like the workplace, like hard to get jobs, isn't it? People on
yeah,
autistic. So there's so much to go, but there's done so much within the last
yeah,
10 years. So we've done loads, but it's just always about improving. Like there'd always I would say needs to be a lesson. There has to be a lesson of some sort and or something for autism because
hmm
it's like we said, like there's so much to talk about. Like you could talk about a certain topic of it, can't you? And like
hmm
it really should be a lesson, I think.
yeah, it should. It like it'd be so much easier for just everybody. Like if everyone just understood things from other people's like perspectives. So if you just had like even like basic knowledge of what autism is, the accommodations that you could make to just make an autistic person's life that little bit easier just because you understand it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I, yeah, it's all about how people speak, isn't it? Really, like the
hmm
communication, like how they're saying things. They have to think
Yeah.
about it. They have to think about how they're saying something and how it's coming across. Because
hmm
in their mind, they think they're saying it nice and simple, nice and easy, but some people it's not as easy, and
Yeah.
not everyone asks for help. Like they think so. Some people out there, teachers, will think that because you're not asking for help and you're getting on with your work and you're even in work, like you might be getting on with it and you may not ask for help because you don't want to bother them, or you
Yeah.
know that's what it comes down to. You don't want to bother them, and if you go on at them and you ask them, they explain it to you, and you ask them to
Mhm.
repeat it, and you just feel maybe they're getting annoyed. They're getting annoyed because
Yeah.
you've asked them again what to do. So there should be more maybe
Yeah. And they don't
understanding.
explain it right.
Hmm.
I always hate like when you say like you don't understand something and they say like what don't you understand? It's like how can I tell you what I don't understand if I don't understand?
Yeah.
Like I don't know how to answer that. And I used to get that in school a lot if I ever said like if I ever put my hand up and said like I don't get it and they said what don't you get? I'm like
Hmm.
that what you've just said, like I don't know. So then I just stopped asking for help because it was I just ended up like feeling really, really stupid and really dumb and not really getting an answer because I couldn't answer what it was I didn't understand. It was just like the whole thing. I don't get that any of it. Anything that has just come out of your mouth
Hmm.
made no sense. You may as well have been speaking a different language to me, do you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And it's you like just sit there like I don't know what to say to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agree. It's like people who are neurodivergent, we all have our own language, really, don't we?
Mm.
Um,
Yeah,
compared to people who don't. But I think everyone in their own way has their own language, but our language is a little bit different. Like you have to say
yeah,
things a bit better, like and stuff like that. Like you said earlier about memory and like doing work
hmm
and preparing for the exams. I completely agree, and I think within work, especially maybe maths, for example, so what maths, like they will do thing for 1 week normally, or maybe
hmm
two at best. Maybe it's algebra, or you might do that for 2 weeks, and then you'll move on to something that's completely different. And then you're thinking,
yeah,
oh, I was just getting a hand of that. And then that's the thing, you get a hand of it when you're doing it, and then when the exam comes along, you'll forget all because you just go too fast around different things. It's like autism.
yeah,
It's like autism. Like we say to someone maybe, I don't know, maybe processing stuff, like the way you say things,
hmm
and then they'll forget it. You said it once, they won't remember that. It's like a lesson, really, isn't it? Like it
yeah,
kind of links in. So you say one thing, and we're not going to process that because you've just done it for one or
hmm
2 weeks, maybe a sheet or two. It just doesn't
yeah,
just doesn't go in
yeah.
your mind.
No, it doesn't. And it's like I like so like a lot of people, like myself as well, like struggle with like auditory processing. So sometimes people will be like talking to me or like talking at me and I'm looking at them and it's like I'm trying to listen but it doesn't sound like anything. Like it doesn't sound like words, and I can't like physically understand what's being said. So then you'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, what can you say that again?" And then it's like new word. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I didn't know. And it's hard to ask people to repeat themselves like more than like once or twice, because by that point it's like I'm just gonna pretend I heard what you said now, because this
Yeah,
is just embarrassing because I didn't hear you again. But it literally just sounds like gibberish. It doesn't even like it doesn't even sound like words that you're saying. It's just
yeah, yeah,
like babble. Like I have no idea what you're saying, and it's hard to explain to people. Like I have like auditory processing like issues, and they're like, "So just listen."
mm,
And
yeah.
it's just frustrating sometimes. Yeah.
It really is frustrating, and like I always remember this time when I was in school, and it was a mainstream school, and they would tell me I was lost. I didn't know where to go, and they tell me they can actually come up to me and said, "Do you know? Are you lost?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't know where this classroom is." And
Mhm.
they asked me, "What's the classroom number?" I don't know. I literally said I can't remember, because all these
Like I don't remember.
weird
Yeah.
names. And he said, "Have you got your planner, like timetable?" I said, "Yeah, I've got my plan timetable. It's in my bag." He said, "Can you get it?" And then he gets the map up, and then he says, "Right, follow my finger. You go down the corridor. You do a left. Go down the stairs. Do a right, then a left." So, and then he does all these different directions. And um, I don't, I'm not following." And then I think he explains it again. And then the next time, because I could see how impatient he was getting, he was like, "I need to be somewhere, hurry up," and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, "All right." I even said, if, from his attitude, I said, "You can go if you want. I'm not stopping you. Like, if you don't want help, go."
Yeah. Like if you
Um,
don't want to leave.
yeah. And they said, "No, no, I want to do this. Like, so you're not late to class." I think I was late anyway, and but yeah. It was crazy. Just it's all about just being slowly. I think the slower the better. Even
Yeah.
though, even though with reading, I think that's a different language. Don't forget reading about slow. So everything else is okay to be slow, but with reading, I'd rather it be fast.
Yeah. And whenever I'm like voice noting people and like talking, I always put it in like 2 times speed
Yeah,
because I'm like, I can't, I'll just lose focus. It's like it's going too slow. But I really like reading, but I have to be in the mood for it.
yeah,
Like if I start to read, if I don't finish what I'm reading like that day, it will never get finished.
definitely.
Like if I start reading a book like now, I would not be able to sleep until it's finished. Otherwise, it just would not get finished.
Yeah, I read a book in lockdown, and I got
Mhm.
to the first chapter, then I didn't read anymore. Um, and it was something I like. It was one of my interests, and I thought,
Mhm.
okay, I'll like this. Um, and I never finished it in the end. Like, I said to this teacher, I was at one college I was at. I said, "I'm reading this book," and they read the same book. And I said, and then at one point he said, I finished the book now. Have you progressed?" And I said, "No, I'm still on the first chapter. I haven't moved." Um, it's boring. The book was actually called Lockdown or something.
Yeah.
Within the interest I like, so it was just I can't concentrate. I would rather
Yeah.
audio. I like audio stuff where it's actually
Mhm.
read to me. In
Mhm.
putting headphones in, I think that's great. But more books need to be
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I think like I'm the opposite. Like I can't listen to audiobooks because I can't process what's being said.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I get that.
Whereas I have a yeah, because I have a friend called Jack, and he listens to audiobooks like all the time. And I'm just like, I can't, like you put it on and I just can't, like I can't listen to it. I don't know why. I just can't focus on it. I don't know what's being said. And then I end up like zoning out and missing things. But I do that when I'm actually reading. I'll zone out and then I've like read like 5 pages and I haven't taken any of it in because I've been zoned out while I've been reading. So I have to go back like 5 pages just to like kind of like reread what I've already read.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's so annoying, I guess, if if you just get distracted, and
Mm-hmm.
so sometimes you'll read it maybe in the book and you'll read the same line, Well, yeah, like
Yeah,
you're in the same line. You think, oh,
like why do I keep reading this line? Or like I'll get too excited and I'll just start like skipping ahead because I
yeah.
just want to know what happens.
I would do that if I had questions around it. I would just skip to where it says on the sheet. Like if it says page 16 or page 17, just proofread it. And if I see a word in the question, I
Yeah.
know then that's going to be around there, the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So Adelaide, what kind of interests do you have, like other than like doing your work within autism and ADHD? Is there anything else that you like to do in your spare time, like hobbies?
I like pole dancing. I think it's probably like my favorite hobby. And watching horror movies. I love horror
Yeah.
so much. Yeah, like horrors. I just watched the new Scream. I'll not give any spoilers, but I think I like Scream is my favorite horror movie of all time. Like every single one of them. I know that some of them are like technically bad, but the franchise itself is my favorite. I love like slasher horror movies. And I went and watched the new one in the cinema by myself. And it
Yeah.
was so sad because I guessed that who the killer was. As soon as I saw them on the screen, I was like, that's the killer. And I
Yeah.
just knew. And it's because I'm like so obsessively watched all of them so many times. I watched like videos about it on YouTube and things, and I was like, yeah, that's the killer. I know that for a fact. That is, yeah. And then obviously the end and the reveal, I was like, knew it. I just knew it. And it was weird. But yeah, I went by myself. It was really good. A lot more gory than the other ones. But like not too much that it was like completely different, but enough that you noticed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that and pole dancing. I've actually got I'm meant to be going to pole tonight if I can be bothered. But I've got a photo shoot for it on the 15th of April, and I'm super excited. I've been doing it for about a year, and it's like I can't even explain like the way it makes me feel. Like it brings me like such a immense amount of joy. And when I'm there, I just feel like nothing else is even in my head. Like nothing matters, nothing's in my hair. Like I'm just there, and it's an incredible feeling. It's a really, really good hobby. And if I was better at it, I would like probably like try and do it. Like I know they do like competitions and stuff around the world and things like that. And
Yeah.
I think, if things progress and I become really, really good at it, then I would love to do that. At the minute, I'm not very, very good at it, kind of like average-ish. But
Yeah.
I do take a lot of time off of it because I injure myself really easily. And I think it's because I get too excited when I'm doing things and then I
Yeah.
end up doing things wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. It's especially help with your mental health, I think,
Yeah.
doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
it does.
because yeah, I don't do pole dancing, but I can see like how it can really be really fun.
Mhm.
I don't know if it makes you dizzy or not, but going round and round. But
No, it doesn't make it easy. Like you have to be like really strong though. Like I didn't realize how much strength that it took when I first started and was shocked actually by how much strength it took. And you can really feel yourself getting stronger, and like the people when they're there are so encouraging as well. So like when you start, people will like cheer for you if you like get a move right, and it's like such a lovely space to be in. And it's really good for my mental health. It's really good to like stay in like around people who are like have that same interests. Like when we're there and we'll just talk about pole and different moves and different things to do and like different outfits we can wear for it, and like different classes we're going to go to and all of this stuff. And no one gets bored of listening to you. No one like feels like frustrated because we're all there for the same reason. Like we all love doing it, and it's nice. But yeah, it's like I started in February last year, and best thing I ever did. Best thing I ever did.
yeah, I think it's good that you do something that you like doing, because
Mm.
it sounds like you really enjoy it, which is great. Like
Yeah,
who knows? You might go tonight. Like you say, it depends how you feel.
yeah. Depends. I feel like pretty like I'm like bordering like semi burnout right now. I'm like very, very like exhausted, and I'm like, do I go? Do I not go? But I've never, ever, ever regretted going to a class. And if I've ever not been in the mood and I've gone, I've always felt better when I leave.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
Is it like a weekly thing, or like how often would you say you go a week?
I used to go between 2 and 4 times a week. I've only been twice, 3 times this year
Hmm.
because I fractured my elbow when I was when I was doing it, and it's been
Oh,
taking a long time to heal. And I don't know if this is because I'm autistic and I don't feel pain the same way, but I didn't actually know that I fractured my elbow
hmm.
until I then couldn't use my hand. So I was like grabbing the pole, but like my hand was not like computing, like I couldn't feel anything. And I was like, oh my God, I can't feel my. And they were like, oh yeah, you fractured your elbow, but it started to heal. This looks like a couple of weeks old. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know. I just carried on using it. So then it's been taking a little bit longer to heal. So I've only been like, yeah, like 2 or 3 times this year, but I would go up to like 4 times a year.
Yeah, yeah,
4 times a week, sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like 4 times a year, like that's not a lot.
Yeah, yeah. You need to go one more time this year then, if that's the case, like 4 times a
I know,
year.
yeah, then I'm done. Done
Yeah,
for the year then.
yeah. Sounds
But
really
no,
good fun, Adelaide.
yeah, I make everyone go with me as well. Like if anyone ever visits me, like friends and stuff, I'm like, let's go pole dancing. Let me take you pole dancing. I'll take you pole dancing. And like, I don't want to. I'm like, tough, you are. Like, make everyone go.
Yeah, make it a good experience.
Yeah. They always love it though. Like at the end, they're like, that was actually amazing. I'm like, I know.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It sounds really good fun. Like you, I like horror movies as well.
Hmm.
I'm always into. I've watched every other Scream. I haven't watched the latest Scream yet, but I have watched the rest of
Yeah.
them.
Hmm.
I do want to see it at some point. Um, but
Highly recommend.
I'm one who doesn't like going to the cinema when it's really busy. Um,
Yeah,
so
me, I'm the same.
so I always plan, or like I'll get a couple's spare seats. I buy them just like for extra, so no one's near me.
Yeah.
I'll do that sometimes.
It's like I find it easier to go on a weekday in like the morning. So when I went watching Scream, I went and I think it was at like, but it might have been like midday-ish. But it's the same as like any film. Like if I go to the cinema to watch, I prefer doing a weekday before like 6 o'clock, because that's just when it's going to be the quietest and it's usually empty. So when I went watching Scream, there was like 3 other people in the cinema, like,
Yeah, yeah,
so it was nice.
yeah. The trailer does look really good, and I'm not like. Without giving maybe any spoilers away from watching
Hmm.
that one? Would
Hmm.
you see another another Scream movie like after
Yeah,
that? What do you think?
100%. Yeah,
Do you think so?
100%. Yeah, I really enjoyed actually the way it ended because the one last year, I was very like, I didn't dislike the ending, but I wasn't the biggest fan. I was like, it was okay. But no, I liked the way that this one ended. It is very, very different. So if you do go watch it, don't go watching it with the mindset of it's going to be the same as the other screens. It's not. It is really different.
Yeah.
It's a lot more intense, I think. But yeah, it's good. I recommend it.
It sounds good. Like I'm not like everyone else. So I watched when I think last year or so. I just watched all the Scream movies. So I never watched
Hmm.
them. I heard of them, but like I haven't watched them. So I do like the last year's, well, not last year's one. It might have been the year before. The one before this year's one.
Hmm.
It was quite sad, wasn't it? Because one of the main characters got killed off. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
cried in the cinema. I like sobbed like a baby. I was like, no, it's not fair. It
yeah,
hurt. It
yeah.
cut deep. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. That was sad. That was.
Yeah.
But
The way that they died as well was just not, oh God,
yeah,
breaks my heart. It was not good. Breaks my
yeah.
heart.
But I like any type of horror. I always like watching at night, and I shouldn't do that. But
Mm.
I always like watching it at night. Because
I like watching at night in bed, like alone with all the lights off.
yeah,
It's like the best time to watch a horror film is when it's pitch black,
yeah,
by yourself, blanket, apple crumble.
yeah. And then in the night, if you go to the toilet or anything, you just get. Whenever I watch the horror movie, I'll run to the toilet and back. I don't know why. I just
Yeah,
get that.
yeah.
Just
In
get
case
that
somebody's
feeling.
following you.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
get that feeling. But yeah, horror movies are awesome. Um,
They are.
they are. But it's a bit weird, really, isn't it? That Scream's actually out this month rather than normally they would come out like Halloween, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Normally.
So like the Halloween movies, obviously like Scream is like Halloween like walked so Scream could run type of stuff. And there are so many references in Scream to Halloween and to like the movies and the director and things like that. And there's when you watch them back and you notice all of the like little like bits in it that are from like Halloween or from like other horror films that are of the same like genre, like the actor Jamie who plays Randy. So he's like on the like lay on the sofa at one point watching Halloween, watching the part of Halloween when Mike Myers is behind like Jamie, like the actress who plays Laurie, and he's like, Jamie, no, turn around. Duh. But the reason that he does that is because like his name, the actor is called Jamie, and then obviously like Ghostface is behind him. So he's like, Jamie, Jamie, turn around, turn around. So it's like essentially like he's saying it to himself.
Oh, yeah. I love all the horror movies. I think they're
Yeah.
really good and
Mm-hmm.
like. They just make you feel. You say they make you feel good because they do sometimes. But they
Yeah,
are
it's the
good
adrenaline.
stuff. Yeah, I do like
But
that.
yeah,
Like,
like Wes Craven and John Carpenter, like I just feel like brilliant, like brilliant directors, like the films. So like in Scream 1, I think it is. Is it the first one? It might be the second one. There's like a reference to like Freddy Krueger with the janitor in his like red and green jumper, which obviously like Wes Craven directed. And I remember that the Nightmare on Elm Street, so it's like a little like shout out to
yeah.
that, which I thought was cool. Mm.
Yeah, like I love that too. Like one of my interests that I've always loved is love Doctor Who. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I met so many good friends once joining the autistic community like online who like it
Mm-hmm.
too, and I find out about
Yeah.
loads of interest, but because there's loads of autism kind of stuff that you could see within certain characters in the
Yeah.
show and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, which is great. Like people relate it and everything, which I love about it because like I like on TikTok I do got 2 videos like
Mm-hmm.
I dress up and stuff like in
Who
the
is your favorite Doctor?
characters. My favorite Doctor my favorite Doctor is the 10th Doctor. Um, I love the 10th Doctor because
Yeah.
um I just love everything about the 10th Doctor, and I get really upset like when the 10th Doctor left. But I'm happy that David Tennant to come back later this year to play in a few episodes as the 14th Doctor. So that is my favorite Doctor. But I do
Yeah.
actually like Matt Smith as well. I do like
Matt
Matt
Smith
Smith.
is my favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Matt
Mm-hmm.
Smith within autism, he has the most autism-y about him. Um, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
like his character, like the way that he played the Doctor, I just felt was really, I don't know, like I just really like related, and
yeah,
I felt like he was just my favorite. I really, really loved him.
yeah,
My favorite episode would be Don't Blink. That episode terrified me, like for the longest time. I was like, every time I'd walk past any statue, I'd be like this,
yeah. Me too.
proper like looking at
Me
it.
too. I remember going to a Doctor Who experience when I was younger in London.
Yeah.
Um, and I said to my family, like, there was a bit where you walk through the statues, like the weeping angels. And I said,
Mhm.
"Don't blink, don't blink. I'm being serious."
Yeah.
And they thought I was joking. Literally, I
Like,
weren't.
no, mate, I'm being serious.
Yeah, I'm looking at them, like I'm not blinking, like the whole entire
Yeah.
time. And it's about 10 minute
Mhm.
walk, I think it was through.
Yeah.
So I can't believe I did that. But yeah, like um I would get really scared when I was younger of sleeping, and
Yeah.
like when I was think stuff under the bed, you know,
Hmm.
when you sleep. And I did a few episodes about that, which made it even more scarier. Um,
Yeah.
that was that was great, but I think like for a long time, Doctor Who hasn't been the same as it was like years ago. But
Yeah. I
like
actually
I
haven't
think,
finished watching Peter Capaldi's seasons yet because I got just really upset about Matt Smith leaving. So
yeah,
then I just didn't like, I was like, I'm just gonna take a break for a little bit and like come back to it. And then I watched a few episodes with Peter Capaldi, but I just haven't continued and I really want to. But every time I do, I'm just like,
mm,
Matt.
yeah. There's actually a really good moment that shows autism actually between the 11th Doctor and Clara, when
Yeah,
Clara was really upset about something in the TARDIS, and Matt Smith um doesn't really understand like
yeah.
why, and she says if that Clara can explain like context or like notes and stuff. Um,
Hmm.
I know that there was actually a scene with Peter Capaldi where he had these cards about what to say to people, how they were feeling, because he didn't know understand the emotion.
Yeah.
So I think there's so much relations within
Hmm.
being neurodivergent in Doctor Who that people relate to, and I think I
Yeah.
I love that because like you meet so many good people, and like
Yeah.
like I've done the videos I most do is 10th Doctor videos, but I do like to do
Yeah.
other characters. Like I've done 11th Doctor videos. Um,
Hmm.
recent interest from last year would be going to the different Doctor Who locations and going there and doing a video
Yeah.
and sharing it and saying I've been here. That that's where so and so is filmed.
Yeah.
I think,
Do you know Avengers? So do
yeah,
you know, is it Endgame? I think when they all like disappear or whatever.
yeah,
Um, the guy who plays Spider-Man, what's his name?
Tom Holland.
Yeah. So he actually improvised his end like scene when he was like turned into like pixel and going away. And he actually got the inspiration from David Tennant's like goodbye speech at the end of his in the end of his episode in Doctor Who.
Oh, really? That's really
Yeah,
interesting. Like, like saying
yeah,
goodbye
I thought,
to
oh, that was really
Tony
cool.
Stark.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
he's like, I'm not ready, I don't want to go yet. And he took inspiration from the end of last episode of Doctor Who with David Tennant, and I just thought that was really, really cool.
yeah, that is really cool. It makes sense now. Um,
Yeah.
I always say within Marvel, that's where they should have finished it, the actual show. Like
Yeah.
within that game, because it's Endgame, right? It's where you'd think they would just end it, because like
Yeah.
now I think Marvel hasn't really been that great since really
Yeah.
since
I
Endgame.
got really frustrated with the last Spider-Man, because I didn't the ending doesn't make any sense. There's too many plot holes and it like is so bothersome to me.
Yeah,
Like it the fact that like obviously like it made it so everyone forgot who, you know, that he was Spider-Man and stuff like that. But the fact that like Ned and MJ were still friends, but like they were only friends because they were friends through Peter, so it doesn't make any sense. And like the fact that
hmm. It's really
what's his
hard, isn't
name?
it?
Yeah, it was just like I was like, oh my god, none of this makes any sense. The ending doesn't make sense. How do all these people know each other if they all know each other through Peter Parker, through Spider-Man? And then it's like
Yeah,
it's wrong.
yeah, that makes sense because they're all supposed to not know who Peter Parker is, and that they all know each other. Um,
Yeah,
so I literally thought that would have been Tom Holland's last film, but it can't because there's too many holes just to leave it
yeah.
there.
There's so
So
many holes.
he's gonna have to do another film, which will probably come out probably next year or the year
Yeah.
after,
But
probably.
he said that he doesn't want to continue playing Spider-Man, didn't he?
Yeah, it's
Because he
difficult.
doesn't want to get like typecast. But if you agree to do a film as big as like in Marvel and stuff, like that's probably what you're going to be like remembered for, because that's the reason that Christopher Eccleston didn't go past one season of Doctor Who, because he didn't want to get typecast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was very good actually, Christopher Eccleston.
yeah, I
Um,
thought he was cool.
yeah, I did really enjoy him.
Mhm.
like I was 5 when I started watching Doctor Who, so from him. But yeah, I definitely agree. There's too many plot holes, and I think there's like they need to fix things really with that. They can't just leave it there. I think they were talking about doing Andrew Garfield doing his Spider-Man 3 because he never got there. So that I think that'll probably happen because it doesn't really look much older still, really.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. But your Dr. Matt Smith, I think, potentially could come in for a 60th appearance, perhaps. Because that's the most likely out of any of the Doctors, really. Except for David Tennant, of course. But I did really like him, Matt Smith. He was really funny. Funniest Doctor, I think.
Yeah, I do. I just thought he was like, I loved like David Tennant's Doctor, I really did. But then Matt Smith just kind of like swooped in, and I was like, that's it. He's got my heart now. He's my favorite.
I was very sad when David Tennant left, but I wasn't sad for long when I saw Matt Smith's first episode. I think that's one of his best episodes, actually, out of everything that he did. And I loved it because like not eating food, like, it was just funny. And it's just really cool. But I didn't really like the Doctors much after Matt Smith. I don't like the fact when they always have this 3-season limit, don't they? They had this contract to do 3 years, or 5 years and 3 seasons. I think do more. David Tennant wanted to do more, but I'm looking forward to what the future holds though with Doctor Who. It looks right now, I think. But before we go, Adelaide, is there like maybe any advice around maybe ADHD or autism that you want to say, or any last things?
Just that self-diagnosis is super valid, and if you ever feel alone, just literally Google or Instagram hashtag like autistic ADHD, and there are hundreds and hundreds of people out there that are literally exactly like you, going through the same thing, and will like welcome you with open arms.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's great advice, Adelaide, and I love your bear.
Thank you, my comfort bear, my little Pooh bear. He's a man.
I know there's a film actually, isn't there? Like they're gonna make Winnie the Pooh evil. Like how do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm kind of excited, but also like, don't ruin Pooh Bear. Like,
I can't believe they're doing it. They're ruining Winnie the Pooh, aren't they?
Like, it's so random. It's just so random. It doesn't like what? Who has sat there and gone, let's make Winnie the Pooh a horror film? Like,
it's crazy.
Weird.
Crazy. But thank you, Adelaide. I've really enjoyed speaking about loads of things. And to anyone who's listening and watching today, hope you've enjoyed it as well. And have a nice rest of your day. Doing what if you're doing Adelaide, like if you're gonna pole dance and enjoy it. If not, enjoy watching Netflix.
That's exactly what I do. I don't pole.
Well, thanks, Adelaide.
No worries. Thank you so much. It was lovely chatting to you.